are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
JAMPRO aims to increase the export of non-traditional products and, of course, support the development of Jamaican MSMEs. To that end, they've partnered with the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association and the Jamaica Business Development Corporation to launch the third installment of Export Max. I'm Theodore Henry for Business Access TV. Stay with us.
It is good to be here, and it's a pleasure joining you for the launch of the third iteration of this program. This morning's event is a fitting tribute to the industry players and signals a great promise for the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and the importance that has been placed on export diversification. This launch seeks to build on the success of Exports Max 1 and 2, which together recorded over $2.2 billion in sales. Indeed, its previous success sets the stage for the implementation of this third iteration, which we are now undertaking on a much larger scale. Let me take this opportunity to commend the JAMPRO on conceptualizing and taking us this far with this program. And let's welcome our new Export Max partners, the Jamaica Business Development Corporation and the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association. With their strengths, we'll be joining forces to improve and efficiently manage and implement the program. And I'd like to thank our sponsors and future participants. You have signed up for a game-changing program that will have national impact. Jamaica has strong export potential and growing export capacity. The imperative for achieving greater export performance and thus realizing export-led growth and global competitiveness in our exports as part of the export strategy is therefore of extreme importance as we strive for national prosperity and wealth creation. In the globalized economy, it is critical that Jamaica becomes highly organized in order to be fully integrated into the world economy in a manner that allows us to elevate our position on the global value chain and supply chains. Jamaica has been standing still for too long. Standing still while our trading partners have been taking steps to implement best practices for business and trade-friendly environments. This ministry, therefore, through its agencies, is seeking to attain greater diversification in the export industry by achieving higher value addition in priority tech sectors, increasing the value of non-traditional export of goods through increased volume and higher value addition, increasing the contribution of services exports as a percentage of our overall exports, including our creative industries, and increasing penetration in existing markets and accessing new and emerging markets. Let me add to that the specifics, some specifics which I want you to implant in your minds. There are three distinct underdeveloped markets. Let me just mention what those three are. The tourism industry. Too much of the fresh and processed foods that they consume are coming in on the planes with the tourists. And we have the capacity to supply them. Second, CARICOM. 16 countries in CARICOM. All of them are net importers of food, fresh and processed. Yet, we export precious little to CARICOM, and we have the privilege of exporting it duty-free. And what's the third significant market? The Jamaican diaspora. In Canada, the United States, and England, the market is as big as Jamaica. Somebody from London told me recently that because they cannot get what they want in Jamaica, they import the stuff from Africa and slap a Jamaican label on it. Castor oil, by the way. A lot of castor oil that is now being sold internationally with the Jamaica label on it. The raw material is not from Jamaica. Unacceptable. So as government, we are committed to promoting brand Jamaica to the world, identifying new trade and investment opportunities in order to spur economic growth. My ministry will continue to work with critical stakeholders to enable them to capitalize on opportunities in the export market, as more than ever, greater focus must be placed on growing our economy through exports. One of the things that the ministry is committed to doing is changing the soft infrastructure that will support the growth of trading across borders. To this end, a few weeks ago, we launched a trade facilitation portal that will house the information about all the various processes that underpin trading across our borders. It is our vision that the trade information portal will be the central source of information that will ensure that if someone is an exporter, or even if they are dreaming about being an exporter, they need only to visit this one place that will provide them with all the knowledge they need to navigate the trading process. On the heels of this, we are also excited about the progress that we are making in implementing a single trade electronic window for the government, which will see all the various government processes integrated into a single online system that will allow for all trade-related transactions to be done online, supported by a robust risk management system to protect the country's borders and its reputation overseas. And so Export Max is only one more prong in the government's network of activities that will allow for the framework for each and every exporter to experience success, and ultimately for us to achieve economic growth and prosperity in Jamaica.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show, and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
So, welcome. So let me start out by asking Dan, Export Max, I know Export Max started within Jampro. Why Export Max 3 and what makes it different this time around?
Okay, thanks Claude, and good morning ladies and gentlemen. We are so excited to be here at the launch of Export Max 3. Why are we doing Export Max 3? It's actually one of the programs that I'm proudest of in my time at Jampro. I think that, as the minister said, export is one of our critical pieces, is critical in our lifeblood. It's in our DNA. We have to export. We're a small island nation. We have tremendous products. We need to take them to the world in a more organized, systematic way where we respect standards, we understand the adaptability of our products to market demands, where we understand the markets that we are trying to penetrate. Export Max is that program. The results that we got out of Export Max 1 and 2 show what a deliberate program can do, where you start by diagnosing what does the product need to be adapted to market demand, what evolution needs to go on in the company itself. So it's not just the product, but it's also the management that must have the right mindset to penetrate international markets. So we're identifying that demand, identifying the market trends, helping the companies to adapt their products, and that mentorship, which we brought on in Export Max 2, is a critical component, because the ones who are successful must help the ones who have not started yet or who have not yet been successful. So that was the innovation of Export Max 2. And what we decided in Export Max 3 is that to more than double the number of companies in the program, we really couldn't do it alone anymore, because Export Max is a really labor-intensive and brain-intensive project. It needs a lot of time spent hand-holding companies, explaining export to them, helping their management to be ready. So we really needed the help of our partners, and we're really, really proud and excited and energized that we have two such fantastic partners, as well as the other sponsors who have come on board, because we need more expertise, we need more hands on deck. Export is not easy. Standards in the international market are constantly becoming more critical, more difficult. So we needed partners on board who could help us to interpret some of the issues on the international market, some of the standards. You see, Bureau of Standards is on board, and also to help galvanize those exporters to greater effort and to greater understanding. And then we needed the business development side that JBUC can bring to really help companies to develop their business plans, develop their loan applications, to become more formalized, develop their bookkeeping acumen. We think this is one of the most important programs that JAMPRO and the country have ever created, because we think that this is an integrated way of taking our MSMEs the next step forward. We are very excited, and we just want to have more participation from the MSME community, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and it's when you start on that journey of trying to understand how do I get from point A to point B that you start to realize what it is you don't know and how and where you can find help. So really this is a plea to and a stimulus and an encouragement and almost a demand of the SME sector listening to us today. You need to get on board, because this program can change your life professionally and change your export horizons.
Okay. Valerie, you decided without hesitation, came on board. Why did you see training and capacity building as such important components for exporters?
Our logo speaks for what we do, which is business development in the fulsomeness of it, and how can we help you. So we know for sure that capacity building is even beyond that thing called training. It's really getting into the nitty-gritty of the companies, the enterprises, looking at the concept, if it makes sense, whether local or external market, putting the proper structures in place, and as Dan says, formalizing the business. It means governance have to be in place. You have to know your numbers to know what stories are coming out. Worst, if you're thinking of exporting, you have to be really secure in moving forward. So we have been spending a lot of time with our client group preparing them for the market, because for us, global market is right here in Jamaica. So standards must be in place. Governance must be in place. And you must be thinking business. And I agree with Dan, we have to get over that hump of doing a little thing until some big job comes along, because it's not going to come along. So it means that we have to be innovative and we have to be on target for moving forward. We're going to be looking, as we said, as we had agreed, at all the innovative industries that have the possibilities for export. So food, niche markets, high quality, value-added products, non-food, services, certainly the technology-based industries and the creative industries in all aspects have to be part of that big umbrella. Our mandate is to help them.
Right.
So even if they come and they're not ready for Export Max, it doesn't mean that they can't be in the passageway.
Okay.
So they need not hesitate. They need to come forward. If they're not in that lane, it means you're going to prepare them for whatever is appropriate. So there is no reason to sit and wonder if. You need to come forward and let us work together and see which lane you are really in. And if you happen to move into this fast track, no, that's wonderful. If not, you're on the way to preparation. Because we must export. Dan keeps saying export. I think we have been in coma because we're waiting to die.
When we look at the program, or we look at life, we always like to say nobody born big. We all are a product of training, exposure, and experience. And you almost need all three in the right combination to be successful. So in the area of mentorship and advocacy, I think JMEA coming on board, which will have a portfolio of businesses that are already exporting, play a very important role. So I'd love to hear from you, Metri. Tell us in plain terms, how do you see the JMA supporting this effort and your decision to come on board?
Well, when I heard Diane and Valerie speak, I realized that what we have here is a perfect marriage.
Okay.
2 women and 1 man. No, I'm joking. No, seriously, what we have is a perfect marriage here. Because what we have is the JMEA that has the base of membership. Our membership base is about 400 companies, most of which and many of which are small to medium-sized companies, which is a base that we need. Then we have Valerie, who is going to do the business development process, and then Jumper that's going to deal with the export market. What we bring to the table is a lot of hand-holding. We are about solving problems and solving issues. So they're going to have issues. There's no question about it. I think one of the ways we could say it is that we're a big brother to the companies, and we hold their hands and we walk with them through the process. We just go, Valerie will take them to a particular stage, and then we will take them from there until we're ready to hand them off to Jampro to really go and do the export. But I wanted to say that the JMEA is fully committed to this program. That's why we have joined. We recognize how important it is. And as Diane said, it is probably one of the most important initiatives that any agency in Jamaica has put in place. The numbers speak for themselves, and we hope to be a part of this process going forward for a long time to come.
How does one apply for the program? Could you give some thoughts on that?
Thank you. I was hoping you'd ask that question. We have a kiosk at the back. We have several Jampro members of our team here. We have an expression of interest form, which you can get from our team at the back. Copies of the form are also available from the various agencies and on our website. On our website, www.dobusinessjamaica.com, you can download this expression of interest form and send it in, and we will be happy to contact you and start the journey with you, because this is a journey. It's a 3-year program. This is really about helping you through a process and on a journey to success. Tell your associates, people you know who have a product or who even have an idea. They can start talking to JBDC from the idea stage. So let's create a movement that can change export.
Thank you, Dan. So I'll throw it out. Any final thoughts?
This is an example, the collaboration, the example of how we in Jamaica should work together. Because no one institution or person has all the skills, all the information. And until we start putting the ego behind the door and working together, we're not going to move. So I'm celebrating from JBDC the kind of collaboration that we have agreed to have between our agencies. I think it's a good move, And we know success is down the lane.
Betray, any final
In
thought?
closing, I would ask everybody in this room, when you leave here today, call 5 persons that you know that are in business. Let us be oversubscribed.
Yes.
Let us have that problem. Let us reach back out to our sponsors and tell them that we need more from them, because this is good for Jamaica.
Thank you, Metri.
We have some Export Max graduates in the audience, and I think it's important not only to hear from us, but to hear from people who are actually on the program. So dare I say that Rita Hilton is on the
Yeah, they're going to be on the program. Yeah,
So Rita, Omar, I think you're all going to talk later on. So.
All right, a round of applause for the head of agencies. Thank you very much.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life. Highlighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
I'm going to invite some past Export Max participants to speak. Rita Hilton from Carita, Jamaica, and Omar Azan, CEO of Boss Furniture. So in the spirit of ladies first, I'm going to ask Rita Hilton to come and just give a couple of remarks about her experience with Export Max.
I think this is a great opportunity. Having benefited from Export Max 2, I'd like to highlight some of the things that made it so important for me and what the results have been like. It was important for me because it allowed me to step into the Caribbean export market. Carita has been in business for 34 years, and our whole business is aligned with exports. We were primarily involved in fresh produce exports, but recently we've been adding value to Jamaican products and trying to build up that component of bringing more value to Jamaica. Now, with Export Max 2, what did I benefit from? Going into the Caribbean market, which I didn't know at all, and I have to tell you that out of that, we have one concrete market which we opened in the Bahamas. And that partner has been so impressed with our output that they have come with a proposal to invest in our company and buy equity into our company. I learned that I wasn't really completely prepared to take advantage of all the opportunities. So if you're going into Export Max 3, come with an open mind. You think you know it, you don't know it. Learn, absorb, and execute. You need to have a partner on the ground in the territory that you're going to be working with that will teach you about that market and the market needs. It's not Jamaica, and it is not the globe. It is a very special type of market, and each market has its own needs. So keep an open mind, learn from the opportunities. What was wonderful is the amount of work that Jampro put in before we went into the markets. And that was the critical success of the Export Max 2. Into every territory that we went, there were buyers available, and it wasn't the underlings that came to the market opportunities. They were high level personnel that came to talk business and to do business. The other thing that I learned so much from is the capacity building. You think you know how to run a business? Well, you don't, because the way you start is not the way you grow and keep on growing. You see all this white hair? That comes from years and years of learning. I started as a high school teacher, and our exports have reached close to $3 million US. And those are sales. That is not money to spend. That's money that you invest back in your business after you've paid the expenses. So don't think that you've achieved success and can drive a Mercedes-Benz. I still drive a pickup, okay?
I'll just say that for me, for my company, it's been an amazing experience. The team has been behind. There are times when I wasn't even up to doing some of the things, and they came and sat in my office and said, Omar, listen, we need you to get this thing done. And they would push me to do it. Today, I'll say historical. This is our first time in history that our company has receivables. Today, I checked it this morning, from 14 different countries owing me money at the end of this month to pay me, to pay my suppliers, where I think at the end of this month, I can probably pay all the suppliers I owe from just a foreign exchange earning. So that is a huge, huge, huge difference than where I was a few years ago. This is an excellent thing that JAMPRO is doing. I'll say it. You know me, I talk the truth every time I come up on the podiums to speak. And, you know, we need to just get everybody behind this. Our Jamaican people, our staff in our factories, we need to push our exports to get this country going. Thank you.
I am inspired and excited this morning. And I want, on behalf of the entire team, JAMPRO, JMEA, JBDC, I just want to say thank you all for coming out and hearing this program and participating in this launch. So we're going to take you into the Caribbean, Europe, and the USA to sell your goods and services and to return with those all-important contracts and to deliver on the promise that you would have made to be a champion exporter. I expect this program will be a positive, life-changing experience for you and your businesses. So where do we go from here? The steps are very easy. We are inviting all business owners here to complete the registration expression of interest form. Following the expression of interest, you'll be required to complete a more in-depth application form. The deadline for submission will be January 30, 2019. Final selection of participants will be done by March 15, 2019. And by April, MOUs with all the participants will be signed, and that's when the real work begins. But it will be exciting, it will be fun.
This has been the launch of Export Max 3, and I've been your host, Theodore Henry. Keep watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Do you want to build your company's capacity or export your products or services to new global markets? Then you can be a part of Export Max 3, an enterprise development program for Jamaican companies. Sign up today. Applications close January 31, 2019. Expand your business for export growth. Visit dobusinessjamaica.com for details. Export Max 3, grow beyond borders. It's brought to you by JAMPRO, JMEA, and JBDC.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
One of the keys to ending child poverty is addressing poverty in the household from which it often stems. Access to quality social services must be a priority. Powerful words from United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Here in Jamaica, one of the vehicles used to eradicate poverty has been the Program of Advancement through Health and Education, PATH. In this year's budget, $8.03 billion has been allocated for PATH to continue its provision of social services and benefits for children, their families, the disabled, and the elderly. As we observe International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, we implore those who need help to contact the Ministry of Labour and Social Security for assistance.
Look inside the drum. Those are the Aedes aegypti larvae, the one that causes dengue fever. If all of these larvae mature to be adults, and if the female larva bites someone with the dengue fever, it will acquire the dengue virus. And if that mosquito bites you, you will get it.
Dengue fever? Yes. Help prevent the spread of dengue.
Clean up your home and community.
Destroy mosquito breeding sites. Protect yourself from mosquito bites. Prevent dengue fever.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, October 17. The 11,700 square meter new offices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is now complete. The ministry's new headquarters is based at 20 Port Royal Street in downtown Kingston. The 11-story building consists of a 2-story annex complex, a generator room, boundary wall, and parking area. It was built by the Jiangsu Jiangdu Construction Group Company Limited of China. Speaking yesterday at the official handover ceremony, Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith said the new building was an important outcome of China's commitment to support Jamaica's economic growth and development.
We will certainly have a more welcoming environment in receiving our bilateral and international partners. Our capacity to host meetings and consultations with both public sector agencies and members of the private sector will be enhanced.
Senator Johnson-Smith said staff members of the ministry were also excited to be part of the modernization of downtown with its prospects for more innovation, growth, and job creation. Residents of Chesterfield in St. Mary can now breathe a sigh of relief as they can finally have unimpeded access to their community. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness officially opened the 4-meter-wide one-lane Chesterfield Bridge. Work on the $59 million bridge, which was erected over a section of the Wagwater River, began in the summer of 2018 and was completed recently. It is one of many bridges repaired or replaced under the Major Infrastructure Development Program. Mr. Holness used the function to remind residents that unplanned settlements would not be tolerated in the new Jamaica.
Going forward, we cannot allow more informal settlements and informal communities to emerge. The government has to get ahead of that. The government has to put a stop to it, but also get ahead of it by itself taking up the challenge, the duty of planning the communities and making them affordable and available to the people.
Opening hours for businesses operating in the St. Andrew South Police Division state of emergency are to be extended. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement during a sitting of the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
We will, hopefully by the end of this week, Minister of National Security, have the Gazette published with the extended hours. We're going to seek to make it similar to what exists in St. Catherine and Clarendon.
Operating hours for Clarendon and St. Catherine businesses are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. for clubs, fast food restaurants, and tavern licensed establishments. Petroleum filling stations, pharmacies, and churches go up to 11 p.m. So too supermarkets, grocery shops, haberdasheries, and other public places. The island is projected to earn $3.7 billion through tourism by year end. Current data from the Jamaica Tourist Board shows growth in stopover arrivals for September to December of 7%, or over 807,000 visitors. This would represent a total of 2.68 million arrivals, or an 8.4% increase over 2018. With stopover and cruise arrivals combined, the island is expected to welcome over 4.3 million visitors by December 2019. The earnings from the full year of stopover arrivals alone is estimated at $3.49 billion, or a 12% increase over 2018. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett revealed the figures Sunday night at the 15th anniversary celebration of Sunset at the Palms Resort in Westmoreland. He said the growth in arrivals and earnings were underpinned by strategic targets set in the 5x5x5 plan to bring 5 million visitors and earn $5 billion in 5 years, or by 2021. The country has already seen 4.5 of the 5 million visitors and 3.7 of the $5 billion in earnings. Data also shows that overall, Jamaica's winter season is trending strong. The Canadian market is up by 29,000 new seats. There's double-digit growth from the United States, and South America and the Caribbean are also performing well. All councillors from municipalities across the island are expected to participate in the upcoming 7th Regional Platform on Disaster Risk Reduction in the Americas and the Caribbean, RP20. These conferences bring together regional government officials and heads of disaster management and risk reduction agencies to foster collaboration on best practices. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says close to 1,600 delegates from 60 or more countries are expected to participate in the event. The impact of climate change on the Caribbean will be among the topical issues examined and discussed at the RP20.
We have to spend time as councillors who have responsibility for disaster preparedness to become more involved with what is happening on the world stage. Climate change is not an unexpected event. It is here. And already we are seeing the effects of climate change.
Minister McKenzie made the remarks at a recent meeting of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation. The 7th RP20 conference is a 3-day event which is slated to be held at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James from July 8 to 10, 2020. It is being organized by the local government ministry. The theme for the conference is Building Resilient Economies in the Americas and the Caribbean. The regional platform is being hosted in the Caribbean for the first time. And finally, the Women Incorporated Crisis Center will benefit from proceeds of this year's staging of the Civil Service Week 5K Run Walk. The centers, which operate across the island, provide assistance to victims of sexual abuse, harassment, and human trafficking. The 5K Run Walk will be held on Saturday, November 16, starting at Emancipation Park in Kingston. Sponsors include the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, First Heritage Cooperative Credit Union Limited, and Running Events Jamaica. It's part of the broader celebration of Civil Service Week to be held between November 17 and 23. This year's events are being held under the theme, Building and Sustaining a Culture of Excellence. At a recent media launch, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, said the event would send a positive signal to the country.
We depend on the civil service for just about everything. And if you think about the public sector, which is broader than the civil service, the public sector delivers to us services that make life possible and make life function. And we are always interested and focused on a public sector that can deliver these services in more efficient ways.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. A message from the Ministry of Health.
It's the month in which we celebrate our heritage and great legacy. What better way to take pride in our culture than by getting timely information about one of the island's symbols?
Moving away from the British monarchy and into self-governance, Jamaica needed to establish its own identity. And in doing so, national emblems and symbols were created that represent our history, values, goals, and who we are as a people. Among them was the Arms of Jamaica, sometimes referred to as the coat of arms. There are 8 elements to this majestic symbol: the crest, supporter, shield, helmet, torse, mantling, motto, and the design. Each represent an important part of our journey as a country. Take, for example, the shield. The red cross on the white background represents the flag of England, a nod to the fact we were once under British rule. And while the pineapples, which were imported to the island, bear no relation to our indigenous fruits, 5 golden pineapples were added to give a royal or stately look. The shield is the premier component of any arms and usually appears in the center of the assemblage. Another portrayal of Jamaica's British colonial period is a helmet and mantle. They represent the royal helmet of the British monarchy and bear similar design to the royal coat of arms. Their relevance today may lie in the fact Jamaica still pledges allegiance to the Queen of England. The tenacity and strength of the people is depicted in the crocodile, a fearless spirit not deterred by obstacles, a fight to the end for progress. Referred to as the crest, the crocodile takes its place on top of the arms of Jamaica, resting on what's called the torse. The symbol of the crocodile is used by the Jamaica Defense Force as its premier cap badge, and the Bank of Jamaica also uses a crocodile as the keeper of the keys to its vault and guardian to the country's finances. One of the indigenous features of the arms takes the form of 2 of its outer components, tainos. The female taino takes her place on the right while her male counterpart appears on the left. Together they are the supporter and believed to be the first settlers of Jamaica, migrating from South America somewhere around 700 to 1000 AD. Taino were short and muscular and wore little clothes. Today, some of their practices and cultures are still in use in Jamaica. And as other nations began to settle on the island, we became a country of mixed race, which led us to accept our revised motto, out of many, one people. The Arms of Jamaica is one of the oldest national arms in the world. In fact, we were the first British colony to receive our own. It was granted under the Royal Warrant on February 3, 1661. The arms was originally designed by William Sandcroft, who then became the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1677. There has been 3 documented changes to the arms of Jamaica in 1692, 1957, and 1962. Today, the Arms of Jamaica appears on every denomination of local currency, on the passport of all citizens, and all other national documents. It is a stamp, an authentication of who we are as a people, and the final seal of governmental approval.
It's the 9th staging of the JIS Heritage Competition, and this year we're talking slavery and reparation. Entries are now open, so listen up. Primary and prep school students, this is what you should do. Imagine that you are one of the 7 national heroes. Make your case for Jamaica to be compensated for the effects of slavery. Answer this question in an essay of 400 to 500 words and submit using the application form on our website, jis.gov.jm. Entrants must be aged 9 to 12 years old. Secondary students, the poster competition is for you. Submit your digital or illustrated posters to depict the theme, Jamaica, a case for reparation. The photo competition is open to tertiary students in accredited Jamaican institutions. Send us a photo, also representing the theme, Jamaica, a case for reparation. All entries should be submitted using the application form on the JIS website. For more information, contact 876-922-3590, extension 2137 or 2132. You may also email heritageessay@jis.gov.jm, heritageposter@jis.gov.jm, and heritagephoto@jis.gov.jm. Deadline for entries is Monday, October 28. Go ahead, express yourself in the JIS Heritage Competition 2019.
Did you know that Jamaica's national bird only lives on our island? Did you also know that it was called the God bird by the first inhabitants of Jamaica? Get more details next.
Look, do you see it? Can you tell which bird this is? There are over 300 species of hummingbirds in the world, and Jamaica has 4 types. Our national bird, the doctor bird, is one of those 4, and it's endemic to the island. That means it's only found right here in Jamaica. According to sources at the Institute of Jamaica, in 1962, a committee was established to consider the recommendations for the national emblems of the country. It was at that level that the red-billed streamer-tailed hummingbird, or doctor bird, was chosen to be Jamaica's national bird.
We actually have 2 species of streamer-tails. One is the red-billed streamer-tail, one is the black-billed streamer-tail. The red-billed streamer-tail and the black-billed streamer-tail is considered by some authorities as 2 separate species. Here in Jamaica, we still consider them to be 2 species.
The red-billed streamer-tail can be found across most of the island except the eastern tip, where you'll find the black-billed streamer-tail. Hummingbirds' nests are made from small leafy materials woven together with cobwebs. There are about 2 eggs per clutch or grouping, usually 1 male and 1 female.
Hummingbirds are actually sexually dimorphic. In other words, there are 2 different forms for male and females. The male is actually a lot more flashy.
Jamaicans call the red-billed streamer-tail the doctor bird because of the appearance of the male, with its black crest and 2 iconic tail feathers, resembling the top hat and coat tails of doctors in the past. The male doctor bird also has shimmering green feathers on the chest and back, and a bright red bill with a black tip. The female looks very different because she has a short tail, white chest feathers, and slightly green feathers on the back. The female's bill is also dark brown with red at the base.
You can actually find males without a tail, and there are several reasons for this. One, it could be a young male, right? Born earlier this year, for example, it's going to take a while before those tail feathers actually grow in. And sometimes you'll actually see some with very short tail, which means it's growing in. Another reason they might lack a tail is that they might have molted it. That is, they change their feathers. After the feathers get worn out, they actually drop them and a new set of feathers actually grows in. Sometimes you'll find a male with 1 tail feather. It lost it for one reason or the other. You know, it broke off. They could be fighting with each other and actually lost a tail feather. Hummingbirds, for their size, I mean, they're very tiny birds, but they're probably one of the most aggressive groups of birds in the entire world. The reason for this aggressive behavior is because of food scarcity. They have a group of flowers which they'll visit throughout the day because it takes some time for the nectar to replenish. Sometimes about half an hour, sometimes about an hour or longer. So what they do, they'll feed along a particular route, taking different flowers as they go along. And so once they finish feeding, they'll defend that area until it replenishes.
Hummingbirds flap their wings in a figure-8 motion, allowing them to change direction quickly as well as hover. But they are constantly burning so much energy that they must spend all day looking for food, only taking short rests in the shade.
Hummingbirds are considered nectar feeders, and there was a time when we believed these birds fed only on nectar from flowers. But in more recent times, we realize that they do actually take insects very occasionally, and we suspect it's really just to get some supplemental protein. In terms of the trees and the flowers that the hummingbirds feed on, I would like to highlight that the national tree, the blue maho, is actually one of the favorite flowers of the doctor bird.
You can spot the Dr. Bird at many of our public gardens across the island. For example, right here at the Blue and John Crow Mountains National Park. A United Nations educational, scientific and cultural organization, UNESCO World Heritage Site. Look at that color, shimmering emerald green, and those two long tails. Our national bird is certainly a sight to behold.
Garbage collection, maintenance of public sanitary conveniences, upkeep of cemeteries, provision of water shops, road improvement, street lights, poor relief programs, community beautification. All these services are funded by you. Yes, they are, when you pay your property tax. Pay your annual property tax to make Jamaica the place of choice for all.
Heroes Weekend is fast approaching. Go out and sightsee in the island's most westerly parish.
You may know it for its 7 miles of pristine coastline, its unmistakable sunsets, or moving houses on trailers. You may see it in the news for its motorcycles, but there's so much more to the island's most westerly parish. We decided to give you a little peek. So come now, come around the bend with us in Westmoreland.
Come and get your fish at the border. We have our nice seafood. We have conch, we have steamed fish, we have bami, we have soup. If you come to the border, believe you me, you will never stop coming to the border.
If you're looking for an in-depth history lesson, you won't find it in this feature. Be sure to head on over to jis.gov.jm for a parish profile. What you'll get though is some good food and some breathtaking sights around these parts. When sugar was king, it was the center of economic life. And it was from these lands that Jamaica's road to independence was paved. Just look up the 1938 riots and the passage of universal adult suffrage in 1944. Up the road and round the bend, you'll find persons who came here to supply manpower. Yes, we're talking about Chinese and Indian indentured servants, and their influences live on. Negril is not the only capital of casual here in Westmoreland. What do you think about Bluefields?
Yeah, you can come and get your fresh fruit in White House.
Come and visit Peter Touch home, Belmont, Westmoreland. We're all over there hang out and I go and eat fish and ital.
Yeah, and the people coming down at the old wharf near to the front of the MCB bank there. But the move that ship is good.
We came further up the hill, round the bend, to a place called Good Hope in Westmoreland, where our locals told us about a great house, right? The Whitehall Great House.
Great House.
This is our tour guide. He's a former worker there, Mr. Seaford Pringle. Right. He was just telling us about the produce that came from there.
Yeah.
You said logwood.
Logwood, pimento.
Pimento.
Yeah.
Seaford, thanks for sharing the great house with us. And see you next time.
You're welcome.
You've seen our mountains, you've seen our springs, you've even seen our rivers. But did you know that we have a blue hole too? We're going to check that out right now. Westmoreland is also home to the Seaford Town German settlement. It's too far up the road for today, but you can visit when you have some time. They have a museum and the people are very warm and welcoming. Just tell them the JIS sent you.
One love, one heart. Come on down to Negril. You're gonna feel alright.
The tour done. I hope you had fun and you learned a little bit more about this Western wonderland called Westmoreland.
Water is precious. So we encourage everyone to practice the 4 R's of water conservation. Always remember to reduce your use of water wherever possible. Replace water wasting devices with water savings devices. Reuse water wherever possible. And wherever leaks are found, please repair them and repair them quickly.
Don't delay. Practice the 4 R's of water conservation today.
That's all the time we have allotted on this station. Be sure to join us tomorrow for another informative program. We're available at your convenience online. There's our website, our YouTube channel, and pages on all the major social media platforms. You may also connect with us by downloading our mobile app. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Sandra Clark. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
An estimated $524 billion US was spent on software in 2013. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics projects software development related roles and jobs at double the national average by 2020. How can our software industry grow? Stay tuned for Cameo.
software is the way that you command the computer to do stuff for you. You give the computer instructions. So it's the way that you are able to do those fun games. You know, you see those men jumping up and down, kicking each other in those games that young people play nowadays. You use software to tell them what to do. In fact, you use software to create those artifacts as well. The men, the things that they're using to do the stuff, the guns, all of that. All of that is you use software to tell it what to do. Hi, I'm Mark Wedderburn, and I'm the CEO of Development Consortium International Limited.
Mark Wedderburn started his company, Development Consortium International Limited, 13 years ago, focusing on creating individual software solutions for each client.
We are primarily software engineers. We provide software solutions to the primarily for government, financial sector, manufacturing, and at one point retail. We're no longer that much into retail. We have a payroll, a factory payroll that is now at Grace Canning, all right, that runs their operation there. And we have a number of other financial solutions that are in operation at different financial institutions around Jamaica right now. December of 2002, actually we were incorporated in December of 2002. Two of us, my partner, Darren Sylvia, and myself, we were formerly employees of Fujitsu, which was then Fujitsu ICL. And we just had a desire to do something different, to make something happen. When I started in software, it wasn't as much. There was more creation in the development of the code. But nowadays, there's a lot of creativity that is going on in there. The placement of things on the screen, how things are to look, the colors, the textures, you know, people are paying a lot of attention to that. In fact, I have seen people refuse software that is functional just because of how it looks. You know, so yes, creativity is playing a greater role in our software industry right now. There's always the need to innovate. Innovation always seems to come at the expense of day-to-day operations. So you have to be keeping things going, you know, day-to-day, and balancing that now with research and development, which sometimes it does not, you know, it doesn't go to the bottom line. You know, and that's a challenge with a small business. You don't have the space to do that, and it's the gentle balance to keep that going. In Jamaica, we're in a very challenging financial environment, and as our customers experience the pinch financially, then it translates to us. A lot of our local companies, a lot of times they prefer to hire overseas talent instead of a local talent, and that's a big thing. The Jamaican market is very small right now. We need to find ways to break into the overseas market, especially the places that are near to our shore. So there's a burgeoning phrase now, near shore. We are very close to the United States, and it would be great. They are using a lot of Indian talent, a lot of people from Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. And we could be tapping into that market. You know, so one of the ways that I think that we can really expand the market here in Jamaica is to tap in there, to get some sort of body, not necessarily a person, but a body that will, you know, facilitate the marketing of our expertise here, there, and also, you know, just bringing the two bodies together, the whole thing together. The first thing that happens when a customer comes to us is that we go through the requirements phase. We sit down with them, we find out what exactly it is that you want. You find that customers will come and they'll say, hey, I want a spreadsheet. and I want a spreadsheet, because to do this. And when you sit down, by the time you sit down with them and go through the whole thing, you'll find out that it is much more than a spreadsheet that they need. So the whole requirements gathering phase is where you sit with them and you go and determine what really it is that is required, what it is that they really need. The second thing is going from there now, and there may be some steps in between, but in general, going now to designing that solution, putting it down, what is going to be required in order to meet those needs. And then from there you go to production or to development. And that is of course after they agree with the requirements and the design. We go to development from there. And then from there we do testing to make sure that what we said that we would deliver is exactly what is delivered. So that's the whole quality assurance process. And then from there to deployment, where it is given out to the customer for their use. If I could say anything to the people everywhere, it's to dream. If somebody were to ask me, I was not trained initially as a business person. And I never would have envisioned that I would have been in business. I had a different concept of what business was about when I started, when I was younger. But I would say to young persons out there to dream, to think big and to decide that you're going to go out there and make it happen. And in fact, that's our mantra here, make it happen.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show. And Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. Wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Software is basically a set of instructions that a computer follows, similar to the recipe. So the program will tell it, do these things, and then the computer will follow along and do it.
Bakari Digital Labs identifies the needs of businesses and creates software solutions for them. They are committed to making their clients productive on the go. So their key market is mobile apps. We had a sit down with CEO Kerry Sharp.
Web apps can run on a computer, your tablet, and your device, mobile device. Apps generally can run on a tablet or primarily on a mobile phone. It's a good way to build something that everybody can use, because once you're on the internet, then everybody can have access to the same service and same resources. It's also a good medium for businesses to operate, to exchange information and so on. And no matter where you are, anywhere in the world, any time of day, you'll be able to access the information. Actually went overseas for the first time in first form, and that's kind of where I started my passion for entrepreneurship. I realized that kids in school were buying these new pens, gel pens, way back, and instead of coming back with toys, I actually came back with a whole suitcase full of pens, which my parents thought I was crazy, but every time someone lost a pen, I was there to sell them the pen. And that's how I made money, and then it went on to computer parts, then to computers, then to websites, and then eventually now to Bakari Digital, where now we make web apps. We do mobile apps and custom solutions for customers, we did, but we kind of moved away from that space now to focus on building business products. The best and probably the most visible is user experience, where you actually, and user interface, where you actually see what's happening, the look and feel, and the interaction. So we actually spend a lot of time making things look pretty and function well, and we do a lot of testing with various different types of persons and backgrounds to make sure the software is as user-friendly as possible. But so creativity will probably be easily seen in terms of from persons using software through the user interface. The other creative side is how we actually accomplish things. Like when you press that button, there's like a whole lot that happens behind you pressing that button to be able to get something delivered, to do a wire transfer, to send an invoice. There's a whole lot of stuff that's just happening behind the background, which you have to be very creative in terms of getting it done, especially when you need to integrate different platforms and technologies into one. We have launched a couple of websites and so on. Notably to date is the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We actually pivoted the company away from that kind of business. We're going to launch head office payroll in January 2016, and we will hopefully see that as a success. So that's the first module that we're releasing in our complete suite of software, because its head office is really accounting, payroll, and tax returns. And what we've done is that we've taken 350 hours worth of work to file and prepare taxes per annum for a small business, and we have now reduced it to a few minutes per year. That's a significant time savings for anybody. I feel 350 hours is actually 2.5 months, and we brought it down to a few minutes. We chose an industry that is very technical, and it's often very hard to computerize the techniques and the technology and how people think. What we've found is that a lot of the experts there have become so good at what they do that they don't remember necessarily fundamentals because it's second nature. It's akin to you're driving home and you get home and you don't know how you got there. It just happens naturally. So that's the most challenging part, trying to extract that one piece of information that would tell us exactly how to accomplish what we want. That's one of the biggest challenges. The also thing is trying to find the right people, the right fit and the right attitude to work with us. So that's probably more for a short to long term. We want to build a Jamaican software company and build something that's probably one of the largest software companies coming out of Jamaica and the Caribbean. And we're trying to find the best people. Read. Keep abreast of what's happening, forums, subscribe to newsletters. Experiment, because just reading is not sufficient. You actually have to try it, so you can actually get that skill set. So experiment is a big part of that. Participate in different chat rooms or open source projects. We actually, on occasion, set aside a day to experiment and try new things, and even share ideas or showcase potential ways of doing different things. That's really how we do it. Especially as lots of technologies coming out, and we might see something that we might want to incorporate into the future. We'll give it a try, and if it works, then we put it in, or schedule to put it in. If not, we try again. Jamaican companies need to invest more in local software companies or software developers. We find that they often send work overseas because they think that we can't do it, but we can. In fact, a lot of times when they install the software from overseas companies, we are the ones that have to turn around to help them to assist in fixing the issues that come across. And we have very, very, very talented people here that are world class, and we should just use them. I mean, there's some cases where there's some growing pains, but once you grow through that, and the return on investment will be far greater than going overseas. And we actually keep the funds here in Jamaica, increase employment, and we help to build the industry. Also, I'd love to see more front-end developers. Traditionally, we have a lot of back-end developers. So it's the persons who look and feel of the application, more UX designers, how it flows, and more software entrepreneurs. We have a lot of developers, but not software entrepreneurs. We have people who are doing development and then tack on entrepreneurship. We want somebody who kind of has a mix of both. So I'd love to see more of that, so we can see more products coming out of Jamaica. As I've said before, I think software could become Jamaica's new bauxite, simply because it's a resource that can be multiplied easily. We also are able to earn foreign exchange, so therefore dependencies on other international institutions to support the country will be less. Would also increase employment. If you look at companies like Facebook or Basecamp, which are billion-dollar companies, you only need one successful software company to kind of bring in that kind of revenue, and that could be a game changer for Jamaica. The amount of revenues in terms of taxes that we could have, better infrastructure, better roads, better healthcare, just from this one software company. So if we have multiple software companies, it increases the chance of us being a lot better country. If you want to find out more about the product, you can visit getheadoffice.com/TV. That's getheadoffice.com/.
I'm Chris Williams, CEO for Proven. When I think of Business Access TV, two words come to mind: passion and performance. In the short space of time that they've been on air, has demonstrated clearly the Jamaican passion for anything that we set our minds to. They have approached television in the most creative and dynamic way, and I'm proud to see how this young station has evolved. In terms of performance, they back up what they say they're going to do. All their programs, all their packages, all their promotions are efficiently and effectively executed.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Software Architects Limited was established in 2007 by Damian Daly, whose passion for IT drives his business.
We got incorporated in 2007. We were trying to work on a mobile payment/mobile commerce solution, and we decided to incorporate a company which would better help us to facilitate conversations with other companies that might be interested. Blessed to do quite a few things. We have done the Jamaica Stock Exchange online trading portal this year, and while that was to us the first step in what is going to be a journey to get our traders to where international trading is, the feedback thus far has been very encouraging. And so I would definitely count that as this year's major success story for us. We have done Guardian Life online policy portal where you could go on and pay a policy. We have done island car rental reservation website. We have done quite a few projects. We have actually, one of the things we have been working on is one of our own projects which we call Click, which is we've developed a software that allows you to sell credit from your phone, and another company has been incorporated to do that, and that's been going fairly okay as well. When somebody brings in to build a software, they think it's they just tell us what they want, and a week later we'll come back with a solution, and it's not exactly like that. So what I realized, and when I got into the game, is Microsoft made computers, and they literally were more focused on functionality over look. Steve Jobs was more focused on look and appeal than functionality. While knowing that functionality is important, your software has a better opportunity to be successful if the people using it feel like it is tailored to them. It gives them a certain sense of ease, it gives them a certain sense of comfort. It's something that appeals to them, and they feel like it's there to support them. So when we get in, we take design very importantly. We take the aspect of the user experience to be critical to the success of the software. So we know when the client calls us, they say they want something to input people's name. That it sounds simple enough, but the process of the person who's going to input that name has to be so much thought through that the person who is doing it, it's seamless to them, it's something that they think helps them as opposed to another task or another effort that they have to put out to constantly get this thing done. So there is a level of creativity that goes into it, especially if you want to do something that appeals to users. Right now, what happens is it's hard to get into the long-term relationships with a lot of the corporate entities locally. And while a lot of software people say is that we're not given the opportunity, I think it's a little bit more twofold. The reality is, as small entities, it's harder for bigger entities to make that necessary investment to buy software with a small entity that might not be financially audited, that might not show a longevity in the industry. And so we, as software people, have to probably look at that a little bit more. But the corporate companies also need to understand that companies have to start from somewhere. And maybe what they need to do is be a little bit more risk-taking in saying we have to invest in our own, for our own to grow, which will better serve us in the long run, instead of taking the easy way out and running overseas and paying a whole heap of money to get software and not develop another aspect of our industry here that could help with employment, could help with us being able to better grow our country. Because you're small, the client's expectations sometimes are numerous, and there's numerous things that you have to take care of. I mean, then there's the government stuff. I think the government likes to talk about how easy, we're now going up the index and how easy it is to do business. But I mean, when you are a businessman having to deal with those challenges day to day, dealing with the tax authorities, when you have to be dealing with the bureaucracy to get the paperwork needed to get certain things, it's kind of challenging. But I mean, as I say, I try to have a can-do attitude and just put them in a task list and get them done one by one. What we are doing is we are trying to do as much to grow, but we end up taking on a lot to pay the bills. Now, what that means is that and this is also a part of what is affecting the perception of us, is that there's a lot of big companies that have done work with some of these small companies that are not entirely happy because they didn't want to pay a lot. This company took on the project because they wanted the money, and they have taken on 10 or 15 other projects like that. And they are now stretched because if they are going to get more people in, it means they're going to have to get more money. So they are now trying to do 10 or 15 jobs with not nearly enough staff. So the experience for the companies that paying them is not great, and they are now stressed. Eventually they can't continue their go to business, and a lot of that talent then flies overseas, where they're getting better salary, they're getting less work, and they're put in a better situation to succeed. So because of that, I would definitely, and have been suggesting, and it's something that I have done, where I've gone out to a couple of other small firms and said, instead of understand what is the market like, what the market is like, so let us collaborate. So I will get a project, I have some programmers, but you have some designers, you have some testers, you have some documenters. So rather than trying to bring in a documenter now, I pass some of the work their way. And when they get a project and they need some help, I pass some of the work our way. So we collaborate, and what it helps us to do is get those bigger projects, because now, while you might be a company of 4 or 5 people, you can now show the width of a company of about 10 or 20 people. And if anything should happen to your company, you said, but I'm working with this other company and this other company, so they will pick up the slack, or they will take over from me in terms of the maintenance of the solution, in terms of upgrading the solution, and that might help us to grow. But we need to, one, look at merging some of these companies so that we can all get better projects locally. We need to look at the certification aspects of the people that's working with these companies, so that not only are we saying people can do the work, but they are certified and trained to do the work. And we need to look at basically the things we need to do in terms of good financial practices, setting up solid companies that are tax compliant, so that we can definitely show audited statements and stuff to big companies that will be comfortable to say this company has a financial history, they understand how to run a proper business, they are serious about the business they are running, they have the capable technical personnel that we need to do the work properly, and therefore they will be more comforting in trying to give companies like that an opportunity to do more. We need to definitely invest in some software, not just in the sense that we need to build software, not because the client wants it, but we need to start looking at like mobile application development as a means, get some apps out there that earning revenue. We need to build solutions and carry them to companies that can help companies to grow, and start looking, instead of just doing consultation work, really start looking in building stuff that might be able to sell internationally. Export is where we need to take it, not just from the call center side of things, but from the development side of things. There's a huge opportunity to be nearshore partners to a lot of the North American companies, because going to India and doing business with India is not as feasible as it once was. And so I've known that a lot of overseas companies are in fact looking for talent locally to support their development teams in their country to help them do more work at a cheaper rate. So these are some of the things we may need to explore.
That's it this week for Cameo, where we took a look at the emerging software industry in Jamaica. I've been your host, Amita Prasad Webb.
Now presenting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund ICDP Enterprise Development Project. Entrepreneurial Grant Business Pitch.
This project is a $100 million grant that's seeking to target 50 small and micro business enterprises and give them training, capacity development, equipment, permits and license towards the development and the viability of their business. We have made a call for proposal in March of this year for entrepreneurs to submit for the opportunity to receive a grant between $1 and $5 million. We received more than 500 applications, and so we have now shortlisted them to 100. So we've invited that top 100 applicants here today, and they're going to have to pitch their business idea to a panel, and of the 150 will actually transfer and win the opportunity for the grants. One of the primary objectives of what we're doing here is employment. We want the business to be able to sustain not only the principals as the owners, but we also want the business to be able to employ at least 2 people. The next part of it, as we do in all of our projects like this, is it provides a learning instrument of how we can engage small and micro enterprises and take them to the next level.
Why we're doing this rigorous process, because we want to identify the best potential entrepreneurs for this project. And keep in mind that we are speaking about a loan, so we want to ensure that applicants are committed, and that from a sustainability point of view, that upon receiving the support from JSIP, that in 2-3 years, the enterprises will still be operational and the broader objective of the project would be achieved. Once we have now equipped them and they should be ready to start their production and going, we'll then have a mentorship component.
It has been a very competitive process. Jamaica is filled with persons with drive and passion. We're expecting that the best will be selected. And then for those who are not successful, we are also hoping to link them to other providers of services, because I'm telling you today, from what I've seen, it is an excellent opportunity. It's worthy of note that many persons coming here today already have some kind of semblance of a business, but they need the additional support to move that business to the other level, as well as some persons that are coming with those proposals to start from scratch. On behalf of the JSIF, we want to really thank the DBJ and other partners from UE who came to be part of the panel, and just to remind you that the JSIF is here and we're investing for community development.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
All human life is precious. Respect life. No more senseless killings. No more.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Business Access TV welcomes you to our coverage of the Tech Beach Retreat Regional Roadshow Mixer right here at Regis in New Kingston under the theme, The Future of Tech in the Caribbean. I'm your host, Amita Pasadbe. Please stay tuned for highlights.
Welcome, one and all. Firstly, apologies. I was planning to wear my tux today, but we were really working up to the last minute before you came to get this center up and running. There's still a few minor touches for us to put on, but I hope you like what you see. So you are here at Regis. We are the world's largest provider of workplace solutions, ranging from products for if you work from home and you just want a more professional image for your business, if you need to pop in to use a meeting room, or for our core products, which are office space. Fully furnished, or bells and whistles included, from your telecoms, IT, even down to your gourmet coffee or during the day. So if you want to have a look to see what we have to offer, please grab one of the Regis team, and we'll be happy to show you around. We also have some goodie bags for you to take away when you leave. And in them, you would have a free lounge pass. So we want you to come and test out our product. If you want to leave your business cards, we will be also doing a prize draw for a free meeting room for a day. And also, we're running a promotion. So anyone that signs up for Office Space before the end of November, signs up for at least 6 months, we will give you 3 additional months free of charge. So that's a 33% discount. So looking forward to seeing all of those opportunities and those business cards flying in. So thank you very much for popping down, and please grab one of the team if you want to have a look around.
You know, I did a self-guided tour by myself around the space earlier this evening. And you know, I am shocked at how many offices are in here. It is insane. So when you imagine all of these offices being filled with entrepreneurs and businesses all doing work and the kind of energy that can happen in this space, you really know that we're creating something special here. So thank you again, Darren. And now, Kirk, no wine for you, because I'm going to introduce you right now, the man of the evening, who is going to moderate our panel and introduce our panelists, Kirk Hamilton.
Some people in the room may be asking, what is Tech Beach? I always am fascinated but also thankful when people are willing to come out and hear about something that they have not much a clue of. So that's appreciated. Tech Beach is a platform designed to really set firm an ecosystem in the Caribbean around technology and innovation. Most of us in this room are savvy individuals within the corporate world or business world, or we're entrepreneurs, and we all yearn for a different Jamaica, a different Caribbean. A Caribbean that is forward-thinking, a Caribbean that is faster paced, a Caribbean that ideas can thrive in, and so someone can come up with something and turn it into even more. And as a 32-year-old individual, I always say to people that the challenge I've faced is, for my 3 decades on Earth, the Jamaica I know, as wonderful as it is, has never seen economic growth in any meaningful way. And I've never witnessed transformation. We're now starting to see a change on the island, and we're very excited about it. But what we feel needs to happen is there needs to be greater levels of opportunity for collaboration. There needs to be obviously greater levels of access to capital. But a lot of times we talk about these things without understanding the fundamentals of how these elements interact and how these things come together and really help to create a true economy, right? There's a conversation nowadays in Jamaica increasingly about inclusive growth. You'll hear that term over and over and over. I'll share with you, as we step into this panel discussion and as I give you a little insight into Tech Beach, I usually say to people that a lot of these terminologies come into play in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean 5 or 10 years too late. No different than when we talk about technological innovations and such like that. And so if you think about what inclusivity really means, ultimately we're starting a conversation that says outside the walls of this gathering, there are people who should be involved in our economy who, for some reason, for just about all of our entire lives, have been left out of the conversation. And it is suddenly happening that our private sector is acknowledging the reality that the more people who can buy my product in a sustainable manner, the better off I am, right? Personally, I don't think it's rocket science, but it is a shift and a trend that has happened in the world that has actually led to the creation of a lot of the platforms that we aspire to and want to see be successful in the region. So when you think about platforms like Airbnb and Uber and the conveniences that these things deliver to us, ultimately they're built on the pillar of inclusive growth, because what they're saying is we can democratize an industry, bring more people into it by utilizing technology to bring down the costs.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands!
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The theme of tonight was, or is, the future of technology in the Caribbean. And I'll just go ahead and try to shape the conversation, but ultimately, you know, within Tech Beach, we deal with a lot of emerging technologies that seemingly are shifting the conversation and changing the landscape around the world. And what we really want to look at this evening is, where are we now? Where can we be? And I don't think it would actually hurt to discuss a bit where we're coming from. And I'll just set the tone by saying I think we've come a long way despite the way that we have to go.
I recently started my own tech company, Innovate 10X. I do believe it's a world of digital opportunities right now. I've had left my safety of my 9-to-5 job. I had a very senior position at JMMB. And I think it was about time for me to look and see where I could actually, you know, see where I could make use of these opportunities. And the way I see it now, especially in the Caribbean, and I'll include the Latin American market, you're talking about 40 million people, right? And most of the solutions, digital solutions worldwide, if people buy them and try to implement them, they typically just don't work. Because what works in another country, their unique situation, is different from what exists in the Caribbean. And therefore, I see where there are opportunities for us in the Caribbean to still learn from what's going on elsewhere in the world, to partner with those that have actually gone before us and bring those solutions to the region.
Being within the ICD group, which you can explain to folks the makeup of the ICD group, but being within an organization like that has been around for a long time, you're charged with leading transformation there, which includes a digital focus. I guess at an enterprise level, what do you see happening, especially within an enterprise level organization that has been around?
Okay, so thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi. Okay, everybody's plugged in. Great. So I think the perspective that I bring is actually a bit more unique than just being inside of ICD Group, because most of my working career has been away. And so I've been with ICD for the last 5 years, really charged with, as Kirk has said, transformation. And it started out as digital, but then what we had to create inside is what I think most companies here in Jamaica are missing the mark on, and that is recognizing that in order for digital transformation to be successful, there's a significant amount of people and cultural transformation that has to take place first. And why I say that I think that a lot of corporations are missing that is because outside of even digital transformation, I don't find that in Jamaica there is a significant amount of investment in people and culture, at least not when compared to other countries that I've worked in. And what happens is they tend to push the technology first, push for the change. You know, we need to automate, and you know, we have too many of these things not working, and too much paper, and too many books, and all of that. And so the CIOs will drop a new piece of technology in and say, okay, use that, right? And then everybody's like, okay, make my life more hell, why don't you, right? And so what I've discovered is that if you can enroll the leadership of the organization in where you're headed, from what does transformation look like when you actually have it, right? Then you can help with getting the people that have to actually deliver that transformation to help you get there.
Lauren, I'd like you to give us, from the kind of startup perspective, especially in the age of bringing in completely new solutions into the market, what you see happening in the landscape and how you see things going at the moment.
All right, thanks, Kirk, and good night, everyone. So I'm Lauren Pearson, I'm the CEO of Blue Dot, and we are a decision support services company. In other words, we provide insights via research and data to our clients. You asked initially, where we're coming from, and I think that, like you and I had discussions before, I think it's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur in Jamaica right now. I think there's a lot of opportunities that are present now, especially that were not present when I started Blue Dot 4 years ago, or even when I first went to the Branson Center in 2013 as a little hustler. So just things such as venture capital or angel investment or even just capital and was non-existent. And now we have all of this capital that's available for young entrepreneurs like myself. SSL, they just invested in us. Thanks, Lamar. And the outlook is really good.
What I would get to know is, I think everyone on this panel can actually give some insight into technologies that you think will drive the transformation in Jamaica. And this is definitely very open prediction, this is not a class, but I would love to hear from you all, as we hear about things like artificial intelligence and the blockchain and such like that.
Before we get into that, I always have to raise this issue. So in Jamaica, it is nearly impossible to register IP that is not a portion or some sort of mechanical device, because the Patent Act is from 1860-something. So I think that's a good segue, because that is a prohibitor of tech here. It is nearly impossible, and I'm hoping that some people help me to lobby the government for that, from that point of view.
Okay, great. So I think that it's really more basic types of technology that are going to really kickstart things here. And I say that because So I brought Lauren in a couple of times to pitch to different entities within the group. So for those of you that don't know, ICD has 9 groups within the portfolio now, right? And for the more traditional legacy companies, data is really, really, really important. And so I find that any type of technology that has to do with business intelligence or analytics, I think that type of technology will be quite foundational and is something that people can buy into because they get it. They see how it's going to benefit their businesses. And so I think that he's actually in a great space. So anything that is doing analysis, I think for sure.
I think cloud technologies is where it is. So the larger corporations, they would have gotten a head start because they're big, they have the large IT budget, they have this CRM system, Oracle financial systems and all that. The small enterprise, if they're smart, they can sign up maybe $30 a month US and have a very good CRM system for 5 users or an accounting system that rivals what some of these large organizations are doing. So you can actually have a very efficient organization that rivals the technology that other the larger institutions may have. The cloud technology, like Google technology in terms of sharing and collaboration, that's actually available to everybody. So a lot of these business people, they're so busy, dealing with the sales and the accounting. Again, that's opportunities for entrepreneurs and tech companies to work with these small enterprises and show them that, look, I can really make it a lot more efficient. Robotic process automation has taken on like wildfire over there. It's like where you're giving each person their own personal robot. That's how they're actually pitching it now. But this again is cloud-based technology.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Regis is the global leader in service offices. So service offices here at Regis is all about flexible workspaces and flexible working. So businesses, young startups, entrepreneurs, or existing businesses who are looking for ready-to-use serviced offices where you pay one invoice a month and it's all inclusive. This is the place for you. Whether it's a 4-person outfit or a 20-person business, you can get an office for a day, for a week, for a month, for a year, and our office space is our core product. On top of our kind of core product of office space, we have the virtual office where we will manage your mail, we will manage your answering, we'll manage your telephone, so telephone answering, mail management. And depending on your level of needs, your level of requirements, we have different types of virtual office products. We also have meeting rooms, so clients in the centre who need a boardroom or need a project meeting room, they can rent that for a half a day, for an hour, for 2 hours, and they get a discount as clients here. But it's also open to non-clients who need meeting rooms and want a very professional and productive environment. We provide that service too. And then we've got business lounge membership, and that membership allows you access to 3,000 Regis lounges right across the world. So if you're a member here, if you're in Miami or London or New York or Singapore, you can go to a Regis Centre, you'll turn on your laptop and you'll connect to the Wi-Fi seamlessly. In addition to that, we've got co-working if you just want to rent a desk by the month. We also offer that service. So there's a lot of flexible working solutions and workspaces for the modern day business person, the modern day businesses. So when you look at what we have in our centres in Barbados or in London or in Trinidad or in Hong Kong, we get a diverse mix of businesses. So we're very excited about launching here in Jamaica, launching here in New Kingston. And in a few weeks' time, we'll start to see the community here develop, and we'll start to see a nice thriving business centre happening here. With it's going to be very interesting, the types of customers and the types of clients we get coming in our door.
So tonight we explored what is happening in the global landscape from a technology and innovation perspective, and the possibilities for development here in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. How these new innovations are affecting the global business environment, how it's affecting us. Ultimately, we started a discussion on how people in the Caribbean can start building their own solutions, what needs to happen for companies to start going from zero to big enterprise in little to no time, in the way that we've seen things happen with organizations that we all know like Airbnb, Uber, and such like that, which in many cases didn't exist 10, even 15 years ago. Ultimately, what we offer is an all-inclusive campus-style environment where the best in the Caribbean meet the best in the world. And the idea generally is that people are able to connect in a very meaningful way. It's a very immersive experience. We primarily explore emerging technologies, right? So we've sparked a conversation that is not very typical in Jamaica. Things like blockchain technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality. But we look at them from a very practical level. What is happening in business, how things are shifting, and what we are known for is our ability to attract the best in the world, the best in industry in these spaces, right? Including, of course, our very own best in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean as well, right? So some of the speakers include people like Michelle Romano, who's a dragon on Dragon's Den, and also the founder of a company called Clearbank. Founder of Vonage, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Pulver, who's joining our platform for the second time. We have people coming from companies like MasterCard, Airbnb, Google, Facebook, and such like that. We actually have a official Facebook workshop happening at Tech Beach for digital marketers. But then on the other side, we have people like Nadine Matthews from NCB, who's leading the transformation of Jamaica's largest bank. We have people like the CEO of JMB Bank, Jerome Smalling. We have the CEO of BCIC Insurance, which is doing they're doing a lot of interesting things in the insurance space. A gentleman by the name of Peter Levy. So we also tend to look at what is happening on the ground and try and bring those conversations to the table as well, and give them a global platform to share what they're doing with the rest of the world.
So we're here tonight at the Tech Beach Retreat. Mixer, your thoughts?
I thought it was amazing. I mean, what Tech Beach is really good at is bringing the discussion that's happening at Silicon Valley and other places to Kingston, to Jamaica, and we did that again tonight. I mean, we talked a lot about how can we incorporate blockchain and AI into technology and into companies in Jamaica, and the insights that the panel gave were really, really good. So,
all right. Talk to us about Tech Beach itself. You've been before. Yeah. What do you think?
I've been every year that it has happened, and every year I can't walk away from the panels that are there because it's so engrossing to have the quality and the caliber of the people that are discussing at a very high level these changes that are going to affect every single human being for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So it's not missable at all. If you're interested in the trends in tech and the future of tech, you have to go to Tech Beach. There's nowhere else to go. Yeah.
The center, Branson Center officially moved to Kingston in 2017 after being Mobay since 2011. How was the transition and why?
It's been really fantastic because 70% of our entrepreneurs are actually based in Kingston, all of our partners, the media, etc. So we feel like we've really had more of an impact and we're more integrated into the entrepreneurship ecosystem being based here in the business hub of Jamaica. And I think we actually also changed our strategy to target scale-up entrepreneurs, growth stage entrepreneurs instead of startups, and that has had really amazing results. Lauren is one of our entrepreneurs. He was on a panel here. He got a great investment this year from SSL Ventures too. And we have a lot of other entrepreneurs like that that are investment ready, and you're going to see a lot more of them in the coming months.
What are your thoughts about the Tech Beach Retreat mixer this evening?
I think it's excellent. This is my first time here at the Mingle, and it would be my first time going to the retreat soon. I feel like it's a family here, brothers and sisters, very like-minded persons, and I'm excited to learn. I mean, I'll contribute where I can, but it's really about learning and sharing where we can, you know?
As someone that has a tech-based business, what would you say are some big challenges that are facing, I guess, startup businesses within the technology industry?
Well, you know, a lot of one of the challenges, especially for small businesses, is knowing what is out there. So researching what's the best systems available to you to meet your needs. From a simple point of sale system, there are so many out there you can buy, from the hardware to the software, etc. Those are challenges in and of itself. Another thing that maybe companies don't really pay close attention to is like security. To be really conscious of the risks involved with what you do take on board with your business. So there are a number of others, but those are two ones that jump to mind.
So talk to us about Growth Tech. What is it that you guys do?
Well, Growth Tech is a company that was conceptualized in 2016. So what we're doing is pretty much spreading connectivity in Jamaica, making connectivity like oxygen available to everyone everywhere. And with that, it segues nicely into this Tech Beach event, where they speak a lot about creating an ecosystem of technology to foster growth in Jamaica.
So talk to us about your company, Innovate 10X.
Okay, Innovate 10X is a passion of mine, where I'm actually looking at helping companies go along their digital transformation. So we know that there's a lot of technologies out there. There's artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data. It's all happening now. It's now becoming mainstream. But 95% of companies in Jamaica doesn't understand anything about the technology, literally. They're still struggling with accounts payables, inventory management, basic CRM, much less to worry about, where new and emerging technology can help them along their journey.
The panel discussion earlier spoke to challenges within our tech industry here. What would you say is one of the bigger ones?
It's actually still a matter of a lack of funding. I think most banks or people with the capital don't understand how to fund technology. They're still looking like a physical asset, a motor vehicle, a real estate. A funding a tech business. That's a big problem, because tech business is usually built on an idea that you want to produce something that is software based. It's not something that's is tangible, something that you can actually touch and feel, right? But we need more people to understand that, to be able to invest in it and feel comfortable that if you stick with the entrepreneur, if they're very determined, you're like to actually make a very good return. Similar like if you're investing in a manufacturing or a distribution company.
And that's it for Business Access TV's coverage of the Tech Beach Retreat Regional Roadshow mixer right here at Regis in New Kingston. I've been your host, Amita Pasadweb, and thanks for tuning in. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business. Cameo brings the creative industries to life, highlighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
Every day you wake up, you have another opportunity to make this little island better, safer, a place where we all can be proud to call home. It's time we all recognize that every little thing we do has an impact on the Jamaica we live in now and the country we're leaving for our children. So promise me this, promise yourself this: no more will we tolerate criminals, even if it's our relatives. Tell them they're doing something wrong. Tell them to stop. Tell them no more robbing our children of the Jamaica they deserve. Tell them no more crime.
On Point is brought to you by Dargin Global.
A very good evening and welcome to another episode of On Point. I'm your host, Patria K.
And I'm Dennis Chung.
And we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you know what's on my mind though for the week? What is happening in the world in terms of stability, with the US just so suddenly pulling back from out of Syria and the support they were giving to the Kurds, I think it was there. It's just creating all sorts of instability. And that for me is maybe one of the most critical things this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's a very interesting time to be alive in terms of the dynamics of geopolitics and world politics and what's happening.
We might get to see a world war.
No, heaven forbid, Dennis. Where do we fall in that in terms of Jamaica? I mean, one small island nation state, everybody knows our name, 3 million little people. How do we make use of what opportunities may present themselves?
I don't think that there's much we can. I mean, we're a small country. I mean, what are we going to do? They say when the elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Mm-hmm.
We're like the grass. We're a small country. Climate change, for example, is going to affect us small island states more than anywhere else. I mean, in terms of our tourism, our land mass might be affected, The world is really at the mercy of these large countries now.
Absolutely. Another thing that happened this week, certainly to keep your eye on, I'm still watching this Akampong story. I have a vested interest in what's happening. I physically went up there myself. And
we didn't talk about the Royal Reed and Fitzpatrick.
We must talk about that as well. There are developments happening in that space. Charges have been laid against 5 people. And an interesting discussion as to whether or not the case will be tried by, whether the Crown will be represented by the DPP's office or a fiat will be given and external attorneys will be representing the Crown.
What I like though, I like the Prime Minister's stance in terms of, hey, we are not going to talk about it as a government. We're going to allow the police and the various bodies to do their work.
Yes.
And I think that should be their approach.
Political play by the opposition expecting, and one of the calls from Peter Phillips was a blow-by-blow from the Prime Minister as development
and he
proceeding,
should not,
and I don't think that's his place.
It's not appropriate.
It's not
He
his place.
should not be involved in it.
Yeah. Well, in the world of business, a couple of things happening as well. Some interesting IPOs that we hear might be coming up. Quite a few of those are public entities that divestments are making, that divestments are going to be happening. We hear about JPS on the horizon. We hear about the Highway 2000 on the horizon. Divestments going to be happening by the government, and average people are going to be able to buy into some of these. Are all of them good buys, though? That's a discussion to be had.
I don't think one or two of them are, but maybe they have a plan to create some value.
There's some financial education certainly that people will need to do. Yeah? Well, coming up next, folks, we've got a lot in the show. We're starting out by taking a look at the tourism development product. It's the Heritage Week, and we're looking at how are we going to do heritage tourism right in Jamaica. And then also after that, we're going to be looking at the Spectrum Management Authority and how they are preparing Jamaica to make use of technologies.
But first, let's take a look back at some of the top business stories of the week.
At number 5, US President Donald Trump has imposed sanctions on Turkey over that country's military operation in northeast Syria. In his sanctions announcement, President Trump said he was halting negotiations on a $100 billion trade deal with Turkey and raising steel tariffs back up to 50%. The president also imposed sanctions on 3 senior Turkish officials and Turkey's defense and energy ministries. At number 4, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has downgraded its outlook for the world economy, predicting that growth this year will be the weakest since the 2008 financial crisis, primarily because of widening global conflicts. The IMF's latest World Economic Outlook, released Tuesday, foresees a slight rebound in 2020 but warns of threats ranging from heightened political tensions in the Middle East to the threat that the United States and China will fail to prevent their trade war from escalating. The new forecast predicts global growth of 3% this year, down 0.2 percentage points from its previous forecast. At number 3, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro ordered a 275% increase in the monthly minimum wage on Monday, the third hike this year as hyperinflation drains the value of workers' salaries. The minimum wage rose to 150,000 bolivars, that's about $8 US, from 40,000 bolivars. Additionally, workers will receive a food bonus of 150,000 bolivars. Despite the increase, the new monthly minimum wage barely amounts to enough to buy 4 kilos of meat. According to figures produced by the opposition-led National Assembly, annual inflation in Venezuela is currently running at over 50,000%. The government does not provide data on price rises. At number 2, Jamaica's unemployment rate continues to decline. It's now at 7.8%. The latest figures from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin showed that some 1,254,100 individuals were employed in the labor force as at July 2019. A larger number of females were employed, mainly in the occupation groups clerks and professionals, senior officials and technicians, and in the industry group hotels and restaurant services. The July 2019 unemployment rate of 7.8% is 0.6 percentage points lower than July 2018. The unemployment rate for youth aged 14 to 24 years was 20.2%, a decrease of 2 percentage points when compared to the rate of 22.2% in July 2018. Statin says the decline in the overall unemployment rate reflected a higher growth in employment than the overall growth in the labor force. And at number 1 this week, for the first time in 7 years, consumer confidence in the Jamaican economy is down. Consumers' optimism recorded a slight decline of 3.5 points with an index of 179.9 points for the third quarter. The dip is associated with consumers' current realistic perception of business conditions and their expectations for jobs in the future. Business confidence also dropped significantly, going down 9.5 points, recording an index of 141.2 points. Despite this decline, however, businesses remain positive that their financial position will improve.
When we come back from the break, we're talking Jamaica and heritage tourism.
Outsourced finance and accounting service. Growing companies face a challenge. For you to stay focused on building your business, you need solid financial management with a dependable accounting function, a resource you may not have in-house. That's where we come in. Dodgen Global provides startups and other businesses with outsourced accounting and finance solutions on a fixed fee basis. No matter what your size or fundraising status, we can tailor our services to fit your needs at every stage of your company's life cycle. Whether you want to add expertise to your existing team or completely outsource your accounting and finance functions, we offer reliable and economical options, including accounting system installations and upgrades, from simple to complex, help establishing preferred banking, legal, payroll, benefits, and HR relationships, paperless online bill payment and bookkeeping, financial reporting and advice for management and investors, financial statement audit management, sales tax compliance. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global, website https://dodgen.global.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to On Point. Now, all week, Jamaicans have been celebrating our rich cultural heritage. And with Monday being Heroes Day, we decided On Point to take a look at a different kind of revenue potential for Jamaica: heritage tourism.
Talks of Jamaica cashing in on heritage tourism has been happening for years. The most recent talked about stalled plan has been the one to develop Port Royal and make the sunken city a massive tourist attraction. Business interests have also expressed frustration at the government's slow pace to make this a reality and to monetize other potential tourism heritage sites. Howard Mitchell, who was president of the private sector organization of Jamaica PSOJ, at the time urged the government to vigorously pursue heritage destination status for Kingston. The government is aware of the value of heritage tourism. In 2017, Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett noted that the growth in heritage tourism offers tremendous opportunity for Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. In an interview with JIS News, he said recent international tourism trends have pointed to a shift from the traditional sun, sea and sand phenomenon towards a more interactive experimental form of tourism.
Joining us now is the Executive Director of the Tourism Product Development Company, Dr. Andrew Spencer. Andrew, welcome.
Hey, Dr. Spencer.
Thank you for having me.
About the first question, what is the visitor who comes to Jamaica for heritage tourism? What are they looking for?
Oh boy, that's so broad, and I'm excited because you're doing heritage tourism, because I've often said that our competitive advantage lies in our heritage. It's one of those things that's almost impossible to imitate in another space. You can take pieces of what resemble our culture, but the actual authentic heritage of Jamaica is what we have to unearth. So the average visitor who comes to look for that, the millennial at this point, and we're looking at the future, these are the same people who stay in Airbnb, who stay in Trench Town, who go down to Seaford Town in Westmoreland. These are the kinds of people who want to, we refer to them in tourism theory as the explorer. Doesn't want to be caged in the enclave type of tourism, but wants to go out and live the life that the resident lives. That's a typical
value in that tourist, because they're not staying in the all-inclusive and they're not staying at these high-priced boutique hotels. They are a lot of times perhaps on a budget. Is there still commercial value in that type of tourist?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why this type of tourist is important, because they're the ones who want to spend in the community. It's why they don't choose expensive accommodation facilities. They'll stay in a bed in your home because they want to be able to go out and spend with the community. We've actually found that the spending for what we call the allocentric traveler is much higher than the psychocentric.
Really?
People think that the people who stay in the fancy all-inclusives are the big spenders, and some of them are. But really what you have are those individuals who want the prepackaged tours. They spend a lot of time and effort getting credit cards so that they can pre-book, pay for everything, and come here and spend not a single dime.
But let me ask you though, Dr. Spencer. Heritage tourism has always been touted. I know Dana McCauley,
yes,
for example, has been talking about it for a long time. And we do have a lot to offer. Our food, culture.
Pike, sorry, my brain
McIntyre Pike.
Right, yes. So one is the environment.
Yes. But that's where I wanted to go now. I mean, are we damaging ourselves in terms of how we have been treating our environment? Because the beaches are not as pristine as they were before. There's the way people dispose of their garbage, the damage that we cause to the drains and all of those things. It's a huge problem, isn't it?
It is a challenge, but I'll tell you how I view mass tourism, which is where I think you're going, versus this more sensitive type. Yeah. Per capita, you're likely to have a greater footprint on the environment, which is where I hear you going. But we feel that there's a critical mass that you need from mass tourism, and because of all that Jamaica has to offer, you can then diversify into many of these other areas that we've been trying to. And we're very committed to that, which is why Jamaica is one of the few countries in the world, and probably only one of two in the Caribbean, that has a dedicated product development company focusing on these issues, identifying the need to have more of this type of tourism. For example, we talk about over-tourism. We're not there yet in many of our spaces, but our approach to that is to divert a lot of these tourists outside of these concentrated areas into more of the unknown spaces. We have a partnership with Loop now, which is taking people to some of these unknown heritage sites and exposing them, teasing them out, getting people to understand that there's quality in some of these spaces that we just simply don't know about.
Part of why heritage tourism will be successful, or one of the ingredients, Jamaicans have to know about the places for it to actually work. And there are lots of Jamaicans who don't know Jamaica. How do we bridge that gap?
You know, there have been many campaigns. We've tried to embark on a staycation campaign, which is encouraging people to visit these spaces. But most of our efforts to getting Jamaicans into the tourism space have largely been to give lower room rates so that they can stay in hotels. I made a point today at another function that the only way you get your destination right is if you focus on the right pull factor. I don't go to Paris for a hotel. I go to Paris for the Eiffel Tower.
Absolutely.
I don't go to Rome. Yes.
But you know, Andrew, I tend to try and do a lot of staycations, right?
Yes.
And visit the various spaces and things. But some of these places you go to, some of the falls and that sort of thing, we don't have any proper control. So it's overrun by local people who really does a disservice to the offering, you know, with the harassment, the infrastructure sometimes around the attraction is not up to scratch.
No, we understand that. And so it's sometimes a quality issue. But here's where we come in as TPDCO. We work with the community. One, you mentioned harassment. We have multiple anti-harassment initiatives that are now trying to break the back of that. You speak about quality issues. We have an entire department dedicated simply to going in and looking at what is acceptable for an international market. We're looking at, again, dispersion. How do we move people out of some spaces into another space? How do we manage effectively? We have EIAs at our disposal of environmental impact assessments, social impact assessments. We have the data. I think we're in the best possible position that we've ever been to be able to treat with some of these issues. So I hear you, but I want to make the point that Jamaica has over 100 internationally recognized attractions. I was told by someone today that it's in excess of 150. Most of us know single digits, right? I mean, if I ask people, and some people tell me they've been to 8, 9, maybe 10 of these, and I put it to you that there's a lot of quality out there. We have some upgrading to do, you know, but certainly the quality cannot just rest in those 10.
And I come back to the differentiator because all our Caribbean neighbors have sun, sea, and sand. All our Caribbean neighbors have a shared history.
Yes.
Where if we're talking true heritage tourism, their stories are going to be similar to ours. So in that 100, 150 attractions, what is going to make the Jamaica difference? That's going to have somebody in spite of the crime, in spite of the fact that Jamaica is more expensive than a lot of the other destinations, what is going to make them choose us over one of our other Caribbean neighbors that's cheaper and safer?
I'll tell you why. We already have a super advantage just with brand Jamaica. And you made the point about crime. We've had some challenges, and every time, it's an interesting relationship that you wouldn't expect. Your crime figures sometimes go up, arrival figures go up even more exponentially. And so I'm making the point that there's inherent in the notion of Jamaica already a positive image that is fighting hard against any other negativity that would come. If we carefully plan, if we are very deliberate in our intentions to get individuals to a particular level. You know, when we go in and do training with some of these individuals, we realize that some basic skills that are required to get them up to the level. So we have a product development department that does that. Then they pass them on to product quality, which is supposed to help them to get licensed. Once we are able to put that stamp of authority, we can vouch for the quality of that space. We've had some good ones over the last few years. We have the Rastafari Indigenous Village. We're proud of that. We're very proud of what we've been able to do at Bunkers Hill. There are other things that we're intending to do that are unknown. For example, some of the things we don't like to talk about, some of the darker parts of our heritage, our history. You have the Zong experience, the Zong massacre in Black River. We're about to create a monument and an entire story around it. You know what's lacking for most of our spaces? The story is not told accurately. The narrative.
And that is something that I'm curious about, because oral traditions we're going to rely on heavily to ensure that we keep to the integrity of the story. That when a tourist comes and we tell them X, Y, and Z happens, we are factually correct with the X, Y, and Z that we tell of the history, the heritage. And so from where you sit at TPDCO, how do you ensure that we are not telling the people foolishness? That the community members who are a part of this storytelling are being factual?
It's a very delicate balance, because we also have the issue of ensuring that they tell their story authentically and that we don't sterilize it to the point where it loses all of its real essence. But we have a team now, and I'm proud to say that in the last year, we've got approval to hire heritage officers. And we're going for people who are trained in the area. I have one person on staff who I call the archaeologist. So I have 3 heritage officers right now. We're planning to build that team even more, who are now going in, looking at the stories. We're the ones creating storyboards. And these storyboards that we put in these spaces, sometimes somebody doesn't even have to tell the story, but we are teaching people what the inaccuracies are, correcting those. And if you're not so sure, look at the storyboard, point to it, take somebody to that storyboard. Recently, someone took me to a storyboard we had put up and said, look, this is what we need. We're in the era of millennials who are just taking pictures. They want to go and say, I've been there. And the sign in front of Milk River Bath, for example, is not enough. They want to have the wording that's there, and they'll take a picture of that. They'll go back and they say, I was here.
Yes.
Or they just send it.
But you know, I still come back, Andrew. I mean, I think Jamaica has some beautiful places, and I've gone to quite a few of them, right? I like to every now and again head out. But I still think that we have not been able to capitalize on it. So, I mean, it's one thing to say that you go somewhere and it's in a natural state, but in natural state sometimes it's not that attractive. Right. You need to build around it. I mean, I go to a lot of attractions overseas, and they develop the thing around it so that it's inviting, you know, so that the people who are there are properly authorized. You understand what I'm saying, Patrice? Yeah, that's what we need to capitalize. I mean, we have the #1 tourist destination in the Caribbean, right? Which is Dunn's River. And that's lovely. But why aren't we developing the other places like that?
Part of where Dennis is going is that there are some attractions that miss the wow factor.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a tourist that's coming here, especially when you talk about the millennials, and they're not okay with walking through and a boring, monotonous recount of a horrid history of slavery and beating of black people. They are looking to be entertained.
Yes.
How do we create the entertainment wow factor?
Important. So you see the wow factor now varies based on your type of tourist, and we're very keen on knowing who is coming to us and who we're attracting. So you're right, there are those who want that dark history, I've discovered, and there are those who don't want that. And so the idea is the tour, the narrative must appeal to the type of individual you're attracting to a certain space. Now, as you pull them, you have to be clear on what it is you're going to direct them to. And it's the point I was making earlier, Dennis, as we continue to upgrade. Well, you hinted at something. You say, you know, why are we not doing? I'll say we are doing. The progress is a little slow, but we're in there trying to get them up to the standard. Because I know the wow you're talking about. But here's what I was saying about the model earlier. If you don't allow your attractions to be the pull, they will not attract the resources to become the pull. What am I saying? If you are coming to a destination for its accommodations, for a big brand accommodation, and then you're directed to a few attractions on its periphery, there's something fundamentally wrong with that.
Yes.
When you go to Arizona, you're going for the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
It's just a reality, you know, and so therefore you're going to pump resources into the Grand Canyon. I'm saying the same thing. You highlighted Dunn's River, which is our poster child. Some other poster children have come up over the years too. You have other ones that have the wow factor, but we are trying to identify the winners in the location. So we're taking a cluster approach. We just got funding in partnership with JSIF to look at something called the READY program, which is to help to pull these things, these attractions up to the level that any international visitor can go into them and feel that someone has put some thought into this.
There's some grassroots fundamentals, and I see the work happening, but I don't see it happening enough. I was able to go to Akampong 100% with the directions of TPDCO signs.
Yes.
You spend Loomis there?
That's a whole other conversation. But a lot of our attractions are difficult to find. We're not big on signage, and we don't appreciate the fact that people don't come from here, not just non-Jamaicans, but even Jamaicans.
Very true.
We don't come from here. How do I find this place? And telling me that getting there is part of the adventure is not a story I buy. If I can't find it, I can't enjoy it.
Yes, no, I agree. And so we now have a big program. We have an all-island signage program. It's almost like you saw it coming. So you asked the question. We actually just committed in partnership with the Tourism Enhancement Fund, 25 million. And we're going to engage the NWA to execute a signage program to all of our attractions. Now, it brings us back to Dennis's point. If you start pointing people in the direction of these things, you better ensure that the quality is of a certain standard. So we're making sure that we get some of these things right. We're identifying the key locations that we want to showcase. And as we chart the path to getting these things ready, we're going to also ensure that when you're physically trying to go to them, you can get to them.
I'm staying on that cart before the horse. One in particular that I've been angst about is this whole Port Royal business. Pirates of the Caribbean was a gold mine for us that we should have capitalized on. We're building out this whole port facility. The ships are coming. To what?
Yes. So as the product development company, we have been brought to the table, and you asked the right question, because to have a fantastic port when the outside environs from the port.
Well, not just the port, the history of the place.
No, I know, but in order to tap into that history, let me use Falmouth as an example. In order to tap into the history of Falmouth, you have to go beyond the walls, right? So when you create a little space inside a port that looks good, and there are those who want to venture outside of that space, you have to ensure that there's a, when somebody comes out, that there's a walking path into a space that makes sense and you're not stepping into sewage. These are things that the product development company, in partnership with the NSWMA, in partnership with NWA, partnership with NWC, in partnership, I put up a chart in the office of all the agencies that we interact with, and I ran out of space.
Because you're coming off of a ship, you're not mobile, you don't have a vehicle, you're new to the space, you're going to be walking.
Absolutely. And then you're going to need expert tour guides as well.
Yes, but I mean, I'm happy that Patria raised a point about Port Royal, because that for me has been a bugbear.
Yes.
I ride out to Port Royal all the while, right? And it's a place where a lot of people exercise between airport and Port Royal. But when I think about it, Port Royal in itself should be like a mini Disney World with all the history and everything.
I think you should be careful how you use that, you know, because there was actually a proposal to pass by Disney World.
I know, but it should be, right?
Yes, yes.
There's so much history out there. The food is good. You know, the history, everything.
Pirates,
oh gosh,
buccaneers,
man.
and treasure.
Outside of that, Andrew, when you look at it, my concept is that the whole strip from the airport down to Port Royal should be developed with tourism-related things.
Yes.
Right down.
And that is the discussion we're having. I mean, we're having a discussion a little late, but we're having that discussion. The KSAMC is on board with us. We're having the discussions as well with all of the partners to make sure that we have almost another elegant corridor of sorts leading into, if you want to call it a hip strip. In fact, we're thinking of
a hip strip. That should be the entertainment place,
zone.
So that people in Kingston can sleep at night because they don't have the dances going
that we have here about Jamaica and heritage tourism, I sincerely hope carries through, because there is an opportunity. And what I love about it is the opportunity is not for the big man who own the big hotel, it is for the people who live in the communities to tell their stories.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
More point, folks, after the break.
Internal audit. Internal audit service is vital when organizations aim to achieve reliable financial reports and regulatory compliance, navigating risks, streamlining operations, and promoting stakeholder confidence. The benefits of a high-quality internal audit are limitless, especially when you secure yours from a firm with deep industry experience, exposure to hundreds of organizations, dedicated professionals, and proven methodologies. Whether you're looking to establish an internal audit function, attain or maintain compliance with various regulations, mitigate your risk of fraud, or gain an overall assessment of your internal controls, you can count on Dodge & Global for reliable and timely business solutions. We've helped organizations nationwide and across industries to establish internal control structures, create an internal audit function, or improve an existing one, and maintain regulatory compliance. We provide ongoing education as regulations and public perceptions change. We are trusted advisors for management and boards. External auditors can be confident in our work and its results. Let Dodge & Global be a turnkey solution for your organization. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most
innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Welcome back to On Point. Now, according to Minister of Technology Fable Williams, there are a whole slew of new technologies on the horizon. We're talking about developments in broadband. We're talking about 5G technology. Where does Jamaica sit in all of that? And what do we need to do as a country to prepare to take advantage of these new developments? That's what we're talking about on Point. My guests in the segment, we have the Managing Director of the Spectrum Management Authority, Dr. Maria Myers Hamilton, and also a band engineer at Spectrum. We're going to find out what he does. We have Ty Shan Tracy. Folks, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Let me start with you, Dr. Hamilton. Can you tell us, and for the viewers, what does Spectrum do?
So thank you, Dennis, and for having us here today. We are actually the agency that manages the monitoring of Spectrum in Jamaica. We issue license, we regulate
So
the space.
what do you call Spectrum for the viewers?
Well, there is a technical term, and I'm going to defer to Tai Shan to give you that technical term, but if you think about it, think about radio frequency. We manage that radio frequency space, anything wireless.
Okay.
So and you have licensed and you have unlicensed spaces, of course. We focus on the licensed spaces where devices like certain walkie-talkies would work, certain radios that the ships would operate on, the airplanes that come in, how they communicate with the tower, down to the simple wireless device that you access your car. So all these, anything that uses wireless, just think of Spectrum.
If there was any agency that needed to forward plan, Spectrum certainly would have to be one.
Absolutely.
Because as life changes, as we start getting into this Internet of Things, and we start getting into these connected homes and lifestyles, everything seemingly now requires some kind of wireless connectivity that you must manage.
That's true.
How? How do you plan for what doesn't even yet exist?
The outlook, we would say we base our plans on the International Telecommunication Union. They have recommendations. So every 4 years, we attend a meeting called the World Radio Communications Conference, WRC, which basically lays out the regulations for what services can be used in what frequency bands. And then we take that now according to our region. So as I say region, the world is split into about 3 regions. We, the Americas, are in region 2. So we'd be following the guidelines and recommendations for region 2 based on the ITU's allocations.
Help me and my non-technical mind to get it.
All right. So
is it a finite amount of spectrum that we have? So are we going to get to a place where it's done?
You run out.
And we've run out, and then I can't turn on anything in my house anymore, or if I buy my new car, I won't be able to do the keyless entry. Is it a finite spectrum?
all right. Yes, it is finite to answer that question.
Apocalypse is coming.
Yes. Terminator.
What is how we allocate? So say
Correct.
for instance, the FM spectrum, or FM band, which goes from 88 megahertz to about 108 megahertz.
And that one people are familiar with
That one
because your
people are-
radio, your favorite radio station uses the FM band.
Yes. So if that space, that 20 megahertz space, is occupied with users of 200 kilohertz, so this is 0 point something megahertz.
Fraction.
Yes, fraction. So if you so you can have a finite number divided into that 20 megahertz, and you'll have a full band. Other people would want to get into that space, but according to the ITU regulation that I mentioned earlier, the space is just 20 megahertz. So for someone else to get into that space comfortably and not cause interference to the other users of the band, someone will more than likely have to be removed, or if technology comes along again and improves our modulation, we can shrink the space of the current occupants to allow for more.
Interesting. And just to answer, segue, that's why digital switchover, which I've heard we've heard a lot of, is very important. So if we digitize the signal,
you get more.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yes, spectrum is finite, but if we digitize it, then we can operate in a more effective and efficient way.
Because you're dividing it up into more.
Exactly.
So it is the same space, but you just use it more efficiently with digital.
Perfectly put.
You see, I'm not so bad.
No, not at all. We've got some new things. So I'll give you an example. If I'm in particular places and I try and open my car, my key doesn't work. When I press the little remote button to open my car doors, there are some places that it just doesn't work.
I know.
Would that have something to do with the spectrum?
Yes, it does. So again, a typical example which I like to use. This teacher, which I met, real case, she bought her car from somebody who brought it in for her. You know, she didn't go to a dealer. She parked it in an area in Portmore. When she was ready to start, it wouldn't start. So her keyless device that opens her car and starts her car is working on a frequency being used in the Portmore vicinity.
By somebody else?
Yes, and the wave itself, that transmitter, is more powerful. The power it's transmitting is higher, so it drowns out her car. So she had to tow her car out of the area completely. So imagine the safety issues with that. As a woman, a teacher possibly not getting enough money, having X amount of cash on her, and she didn't know that this problem exists.
This is a whole new way of looking at the world, because much of the technology that we use,
listen to my follow-up question on what you just asked now. So the bad service we get from cable and flow and digital in terms of the network, does this spectrum have anything to do with that?
No.
You're wanting to reason problems, no. No, what I do want to get back to.
But they have challenges, and they have challenges with theft. To be very true to them, their services and their quality of service is affected by theft on their lines. And as soon as they put up infrastructure, sometimes it's taken down. And this is not new only to Jamaica. All over the world, people suffer from theft or road work. If road work goes on and persons are not careful, fiber is cut and that entire line has to be replaced.
How do we keep up as a country? Because much of our technology consumption, things that we don't make ourselves, things that aren't always going to come from the United States because people can get them cheaper from the Far East, which, based on what you're saying, is a whole different region with a whole nother set of spectrum. So how do we as consumers
be informed? Yeah, so you be informed. One of the things you can do is go on our website, and there's a search engine where you type in the number, you flip over the device, you type in either the serial number or the manufacturer brand model number, and check to see if it's one of the approved items that we have done a type approval on. Once that is done, you'll know it will work because it has been type approved prior to it coming here.
But then that check is after you've bought it, eh?
No, you can do it before.
You can do it before.
But remember, it's on our website. So before you buy it, you ask the person, whoever you're buying it from, to do that check for you to determine will it work, or if it comes, what pin settings need to change. Because sometimes it's just a pin setting.
So you make an alteration to the product for it to be able to work.
Exactly. The main thing is to be informed and use this information carefully, guarded, that you don't run into a safety issue. In the middle of the night, you're going into a pharmacy, you come out and you can't start. And to get a tow truck to come and get your car now, or somebody, that's a safety issue.
What will 5G mean for Jamaica?
So 5G, right now, as Taishan mentioned, we're attending the RRC as a delegation coming up in 3 weeks' time, by the end of October.
Where is that?
It's going to be in Egypt. And the entire world will be there. All 3 regions will be represented. The space for spectrum will be decided there for 5G. Because right now it's still in deliberation. What will be that space for 5G? So when you think about 5G as a roadway, so the first thing you have to build that road before now that particular car can drive on that road, which is the layer of applications and technologies. So,
Sure. As in She said space that would be recognized for 5G. In terms of space, like how I mentioned, the FM broadcast being between 88 and 108. So this would basically say what or identify which band, I like to say the word band, will be allocated for mobile IMT, international mobile telecommunications, or 5G. So as we can speak to our country right now, we have up to 4G LTE technology, which has been or was identified as being in 700 megahertz, 17/2100 megahertz. That was decided 4 years prior in the previous WRC, World Radio Communications Conference
So I
meeting.
hear you saying these things. And what I'm wondering is whether or not we are missing out as a country. And I tell you why I asked the question.
Sure.
So when you explain to me about radio and the bandwidth of radio, I know that every household is making use of this. I can select my favorite radio station. I know what frequency it's on. Wonderful. If I stop the average person on the road and ask them what is 4G and how do they benefit from it, they probably
They
can't
don't know.
tell me.
Right.
And we're about to now talk about 5G. And so I asked the question, are we missing out? Are businesses missing out? Are people at home missing out on opportunities that they could be maximizing on with these new technologies that you are doing the work, making sure we have available to us, but we don't know what they are, so we're not using them?
So our minister is very passionate about connecting the underserved and the unconnected, because it is a big thing where the unconnected, the statistics are very large. So you and I have internet access at our homes, but the average person does not have internet access. Why? Because possibly fiber has not been run to that space, because of the terrain, a number of reasons. So wireless technology, like satellite technology, although it's not 5G, and you must remember, cutting edge is not always necessary. Typically, you go on like the 4G, fourth generation, which is a stable platform, tried and proven, and there are a number of different things that can be run, like telemedicine. We just had a recent forum in Montego Bay where we demonstrated using a satellite link telemedicine, where a doctor would sit in a rural community, take the vital signs of persons and feed it back to his colleague in Kingston. The doctor in Kingston is looking at the person to determine if this person needs to be air ambulanced into Kingston, or it's nothing, it's not a biggie. Antibiotics can be treated, based on the symptoms. So what am I saying? The truth is, the main task, what we need to do is to get that underserved and underconnected on. Because as I said before recently, information in the digital age is a birthright.
But let me ask you, is it possible to go to a new technology, and given the infrastructure and the appliances we have here, it actually makes it worse than it was before?
No, it depends on planning. So when you roll out any form of application, you have to be mindful of a number of variables. Sometimes the capital outlay is the only thing persons think about, but the other side of it is the whole operating costs, the continuity, the business continuity back end. So take something like telemedicine or even distance learning, which is a big thing, reaching persons within their community and carrying education into the field rather than forcing a child or a person to drive to a location. You plan for the layout, but then it has to be maintained. So the hotspots, there has to be a cost associated with constant maintenance. The content, the digital content also has to be developed. So there are a number of facets, and when you're planning a digital strategy, all the components must be included.
You just raised an issue that I don't even know how you sort this, because much of the usage of the spectrum will be by people who are seeking free applications, free apps. You purchase your fancy refrigerator, that's going to tell you what's not in there and what you need to go shopping for. There's really no cost to that information coming to you. But you would have had to spend, I'm assuming, to be able to make this spectrum available for that conversation of things in my house. What's your revenue model like since people are trying to get
not
free?
Us. That's not us.
Well, wait, I'll answer
But go
the
ahead.
non-revenue part. Maybe you can answer the revenue part.
Sure.
But the aspect of connected items and connected, so you mentioned the fridge, you mentioned like the microwave connecting to each other, but that all has a space or a band for itself. So the unlicensed band, I think more director spoke about, we pay attention to the licensed band, but there's also an unlicensed band. So Wi-Fi. Bluetooth.
So you don't manage that side?
So it's there. We tell you that our manufacturers out there build their devices to operate in that band. So everybody, lots of devices operate in that band. So it's kind of interference high. So it's usually a hopping technique within that band to find a good stable signal to operate. But we don't need to manage that band because it's, like I said, pointing back to the ITU and the recommendations, they have allocated that space or band for unlicensed use, and manufacturers like that band. So most of their devices that they manufacture will be operating in that band.
Very complicated space.
Yeah.
So like your Bluetooth, your headpiece.
That connects with my phone.
Yes. That's
Your
not
wi-
you. No.
Your Wi-Fi router. It's us, but it operates in an
Does
unlicensed.
it make it easier to eavesdrop on an unlicensed band than a licensed band?
I would say, I'm not sure, but in that case, in a licensed band, you can claim for interference. So say, for instance, you have a point-to-point dish network setup, for backhaul or whatever reason. If you experience any interference or suspecting any eavesdropping on that signal, then you can come to us because you have already paid for that.
Correct.
And that's your licensed spectrum to use. So it's part of your network, and no one else apart from you should be on that frequency.
Dennis has gone into spy mode, and I'm not going down that road with him, folks. Thank you so much.
Make sure you get your
for
license
joining us.
band here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining
You're
us. We
welcome.
had with us two folks who taught me so much today, Dr. Maria Maris Hamilton and also Tai Shay Tracy. We'll take a break. Go again? Taishan Tracy. We take a break and come back with more On Point.
Corporate restructuring services. In today's evolving commercial and economic environment, businesses are continually seeking opportunities to manage operating costs and tax positions, as well as contain cash expenditures. Entity structuring can help achieve these goals, but often presents many challenges for multinational corporations. In addition, the OECD's Base Erosion and Profit Shifting (BEPS) proposals are expected to impact the bottom line of affected organizations and result in some business restructuring. Crow Jamaica delivers an integrated approach to clients' corporate and reorganization needs. Services include simplifying group structures, executing domestic and cross-border transactions including mergers, demergers, disposals, and company migrations, transferring assets and business units, aligning legal structures to business models, establishing national or regional hubs, converting subsidiary company structures to branch structures and vice versa, integrating legal structures following a merger or acquisition, providing practical advice and assistance throughout the planning, development, and implementation phases of corporate reorganizations. Crow Jamaica assists businesses and other advisors in developing and implementing efficient, cost-effective legal structures and business operating models. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email people@crowjm.com. Website www.crowjm.com.
Violence against women is a violation of human rights. Its impact ranges from immediate to long-term physical, mental, and sexual consequences, sometimes resulting in death. It negatively impacts women's general well-being and can prevent us from fully participating in society. Be a better human being. No more violence against women. No more.
Welcome back to On Point. Heritage tourism is big business across the globe. Just how big? Here are the numbers.
40% of international arrivals are considered to be cultural or heritage tourists. It's estimated that the direct global value of culture and heritage tourism is well over $1 billion. The Asia Pacific APEC region rakes in approximately $327 million of this amount, directly providing some 50 million jobs and another 75 million jobs indirectly across the region. The most popular heritage tourist site in the world is the Great Wall of China, which saw almost 10 million visitors in 2018.
And our On Point team hit the streets and asked, how can we use the richness of our heritage sites to attract more visitors to Jamaica?
I believe that proper maintenance is very important, and taking care of this garbage issue that we have a problem with, making sure that the attractions are always clean.
Remodel that to them, like change the color, paint, maybe new design.
Basically, the government can create more events for persons in like local people to go to at these sites to get to learn more about their culture. Because most persons aren't really educated about how things went down back in the day, so having the knowledge about your history would actually, make people want to know more about you, because you know your history.
It has to come in a package, a whole package with food places to relax and so on, and people who can tell the story of what the historical site is about.
Could make them more attractive by beautification, planting up flowers and stuff, maintain them properly, do more advertising.
I would say we could create some form of package deals around the specific heritage site. So it's not just about going to the heritage site, it would be like an event. So you would go to the heritage site, you might have dinner while there or do a fun activity while there or get some form of entertainment while there to make it more of an experience instead of just visiting somewhere.
It's not only about what the leadership of the country or the persons who are so charged to do the thing. It's about the nation as a whole wanting to enhance themselves and to better themselves. In other words, there has to be a national mindset. It has to be about patriotism, and the desire to see your country move in the right direction. I'm not so sure that nationally that sentiment is commonly held.
Great design is not only how things look, but also how well they work. The GLC, more than meets the eye.
It's Island Hour, it's Island Hour, it's Island Hour, free eye test. It's Island Hour, it's Island Hour, it's Island Hour, free eye test. Free eye testing is back and it's here to stay. Island Eyewear offers free eye testing every day, all day at all locations island-wide. Conditions apply. Make your appointment today at www.islandeyewear.com or call us 630-1180. Island Eyewear, your style, your price. It's Island Hour, free eye test.
So much to unpack out of that show. I particularly love that discussion with TP Dico.
Yeah, no. And when you brought up the point about Port Royal, it just shows how much we have not been able to capitalize on what I think is the biggest value added that we have, a competitive edge, which is our heritage, our culture. I mean, Port Royal in any other country would have been a worldwide attraction.
Number one.
We just leave it there to rot.
I mean, I still have questions. And if we're going to talk about heritage tourism, the stories are one thing, but also the artifacts that back up the story are another thing. Where are the chests of gold and what's left of the sunken city? How much of that can we put our hands on as a country? How much of that have we been able to dig and save? And is it sitting in somebody's special living room somewhere?
I don't know.
The artifact side of things is equally as important if we're going to roll out the heritage tourism.
And you're right. I mean, we don't know where all of that is. We're not a country that treasures our history, you know. We don't preserve things, you know. And we can see it in our infrastructure. Once we build something, we just leave it till it runs down, and then we build something else.
I know, I mean, you talk about your travels, and I've gone to quite a few countries as well, and they've hyped up these destinations, and I go there with this huge expectation, because I go there with my Jamaica, which is high, you know, as a Jamaican. There's a high level of expectation and entertainment value that you expect, and I go to some of these places, and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, but they attract a lot of visitors worldwide.
Absolutely. What it would crush me if anybody came to one of those places that we touted as being a great Jamaican attraction, and the takeaway was that's it. I certainly feel like Port Royal right now is a letdown.
It's a huge letdown. I mean,
it's a missed opportunity.
I think that we could have earned billions of US dollars from Port Royal. I mean, the people who are living there, who are basically living in close to poverty, should not be, because it just has so much value potential.
Absolutely. And then the other discussion with Spectrum was another interesting one. I certainly learned a lot because it wasn't a space that I knew much about, and how allocation was done and how we plan for the future. What is interesting is a lot of technology is being injected into our future.
Yeah.
And how much are we as a government planning for that technology?
I don't, you know, it's true. I mean, technology really, you can't do without it today. I mean, if your internet is down at your house for 10 minutes, you know, it's like having babies. You know, if you don't have a computer at work, you're unproductive basically. And when I look at all of that, and I look at how unstable our telecommunications and internet services in Jamaica, I don't think that the government and the OUR has done a proper job to ensure that we have that stability, because that's our productive base.
Absolutely. As the world gets smaller as well, there's going to be this real consideration, because the internet is making everything available to everybody, and we're chasing price. And so if the cheapest car is in Japan, we're going to buy the car in Japan, and then when it comes here and it doesn't work, what's the repercussion for consumers? It is something that manufacturers are going to have to wrap their minds around, as well as the Consumer Affairs Commission right here in Jamaica. But that's where we're going to have to wrap the show today, folks. The very hardworking crew deserve all our thanks. Thank you for everything that you do. Thanks also to you, the viewers, for tuning in to another episode of On Point for one more week. I'm Patria K.
And I'm Dennis Chung.
See you next week.
On Point was brought to you by Dargin Global.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
Stay current and gain more information on the ever-evolving industry of real estate on Home Sweet Home.